Hello. Actually, I just gotta get something set up here. So let's see. That's two. Oops. Three, four, five, six for my aim action. I've got one, two, three, four ranks in my epic in my dexterity stat. I've got one, two. Oh man, we'll need a few more dice. Two, three, four, five ranks in my skill. My bow grants me one, two, three. Let's see here. Four, five, six. Grants me 7 bonus dice because of the natural bonus plus its enchantments. So let's roll my accuracy and see if I hit. Okay, there's double hit. There's a hit. Missed. Double. Two miss. Hit. Double. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's a 14 my accuracy roll. And that is more or less my experience when I was DMing battles in the first edition of Scion. My brother, just a couple of my Scion books here, I've been rereading them. So my brother played when I was DMing, we always did like a thing where I tried to make everyone play different pantheons. My brother was once playing a scion of Robin Hood. There were Legend 4. He was rolling like, oh man, just crazy amounts of dice with his archery. He had, I think he only had 4. He might have had 5 points in dexterity, so he's rolling 5 dice. 5 dice for his marksmanship, so it's 10 dice. He had an ability that when he took an aim action, he doubled the amount of dice he took. So he'd aim for 3 turns, gain 6 dice. So he's rolling 16 dice. Plus his bow, which took the bow that had the highest accuracy. Plus he took an ability that let him, or his bow's enchanted and gave him extra dice. He had like 6, 7 extra dice. So he was rolling like this pool of like 22 dice every single time he did an attack. 22. And you gotta count. 2, 5, 6. Every attack. That's just accuracy. Then, like, if the opponent's dodge was like 10 and he rolled a 16, when he rolled his damage, he got 6 extra dice. So 6 plus whatever his damage was for his bow. Rolling, and then hit, miss, hit, and double hit. Counting all that up. And my brother's an extreme case, but every combat was like that. You'd roll 13 dice and then count. And then the next guy would roll 9 dice. And it is just so slow. Because how Scion works is every point you have in something, whether it's your stat or your skill, you add an additional 10-sided die. You add an additional 10-sided die to your roll. And if you roll 7, 8, or 9, that's a hit. If you roll double zeros, that's a miss. And so you would just roll this massive pool every time anyone wanted to do something. And there are other glaring issues with Scion, because I've had some people talk about the way that your auto successes don't increase linearly, they increase exponentially, which is a huge problem in that later levels, the legend, but we'll call levels, for universal sake. As you guys get higher in level, those numbers increase so much that you're basically rolling dice just as a lip service. Sorry about that, and it's just such insanity, like, that level. But before I just spend some time trashing Scion, I would like to mention some things I like. I actually played in 2 separate Scion campaigns, and I've ran like 4 if you include ones I've ran online. I've ran 3 with my group. and because I love this world of Scion so much. So basically, the premise is you play half mortal, half divine. Um, like the people, you're half human, half god. So these gods of legend, Zeus and Thor, and this guy is the Aztec Tezcatlipoca, and I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation. Um, you play their half mortal children, thus, and it's essentially a superhero campaign. You gain like superpowers. So, like, if you're the child of Thor, you could inherit lightning themed sky, like lightning themed powers. They could inherit war or guardian themed powers, and superhuman strength. And these powers come like perks, and I adore the perks in this game. So like if one of your purviews, one of your elemental forces, not necessarily elemental, because you have stats and you have like kind of more magical powers like fire. Now obviously, what can you do with fire? You can throw fire, you can make fire, you're immune to heat. But like it's got some really creative things you can do with fire. One of the early abilities is called Fire Eyes, where if there's a flame, you can look at it and then you see as though you are standing within that fire. Like you can look around. So it actually works as a very effective, like kind of scouting ability. And you can turn followers into Ifreti, which I mean they're not Ifreti, but whatever. Just these like towering infernos of like fire that fight for you for a while. And like the fact that like, I'm currently running a Mutants and Masterminds campaign with my friends, and it's in the Scion universe. But I'm using Mutants and Masterminds rules because I cannot praise Mutants and Masterminds enough how much I absolutely adore Mutants and Masterminds rules. It's not perfect, but no system is. But I just love the Scion world so much. But one of the issues here is that, one of my players, Josh, is a Scion of Muzenkab, the Mind God of Bees. Bee powers, summoning bees, and he has like wasp stingers, and he can like shrink and fly. Basically, he's kind of like Wasp and Ant-Man put together right now, which is fine, but like, if he was in like the Scion world, like you'd have animals, one of your abilities. Like you can do things like, obviously talk to animals, command animals, summon animals. You can get like animal aspects. You can also do crazy things like hybridize animals. Like you could take a bee and like, I don't know, a wolf and make like this giant wolf with like a bee poison and wings and just really crazy stuff. Or like, um, trying to think, like the air one's kind of boring. Although I do like one of the air one's abilities called Tornado Tamer, where you like have a literal pet tornado. You can pull a tornado out of your pocket and let it go. Water has a similar one called Whirlpool. And like water has one where it's kind of neat, where it's like you're immune to the pressures of the ocean depths. Like who would honestly really think to do that in a water manipulating character? I mean, some people would, the whole Aquaman thing, but the powers you get are really creative. But like that dice pool, I do not like dice pool mechanics because they always seem to just like take so long every time you do anything. And then the other huge issue with the game is disparity of powers. So like when you gain experience points and you spend them on abilities, you gain your points to spend on abilities. If they're associated with your divine parent, then they're cheaper. So like lightning power would be cheaper if you're a child of Zeus than say something like fire, or he might be associated with an animal, but something like fire or epic wits, which means certain gods, like Odin, has this vast amount of abilities he grants, while some like Aphrodite, all she grants you are your 3 social stats as power boosts. So there's kind of a disparity there. Like as a god, you gain relics that gain you access to your powers. Like you could have like an amulet that's made of a chip piece of Munir, and it would get you sky powers. Or you could have like a shield forged by Hephaestus that gave you war powers, whether you are a child of Ares of Dana or not. If you're a child of Poseidon, you could still have this war power. And like, but like, if you're a child of Poseidon, those war abilities are going to cost you an extra point when you buy them. It's not a lot, but it is kind of annoying just because some gods have such wide repertoires, and some gods, like, once again, Aphrodite have none. There's another huge issue wherein every pantheon has their own separate power based entirely on them. Like the Japanese have their awakened spirit powers, where they can like speak to the kami within average things. Like they can awaken a spirit and talk to it. We had one I was running where we had a scion of Izanami, the one of the Japanese death goddesses, and they were trailing a guy, but the trail ran cold. So they were trying to gain information. They were like, okay, where do people kind of talk about stuff? And they were had an idea. Well, people talk about stuff washing their hands after they go to the bathroom. So he used the awakened spirit to have a toilet talk to him to say what the toilet overheard, and the toilet was like, "Hello, feed me your poop." And he's like, "Okay, well, we want to know if we heard what these two people were talking about." And of course, he gave him their information. He's like, "Yes, now feed me your poop." And so my friend, who I'll compete, was like, "Well, okay," and he used the toilet, which the toilet was more than happy to do because one of the things about it is that items want to do what they were built to do. A cup wants to be filled with water. A lamp wants to light the dark. Obviously, a toilet's going to want to accept waste, so that's what it did. It's just a hilarious story we have where he talked to a toilet. The same, my brother and him were. He was obviously Japanese, and my brother was playing Aztec, a sign of Tezcatlipoca, and they were talking, and just as a joke, they asked my brother's character, "Well, what's your character's name?" And he looked over at P, who was playing a character named Kenshi Ueda. And he's like, "My name is Kenshi Ueda," and the guy was like, that's funny. You don't look Japanese." The guy's like, "Well, I'm half Japanese." He's like, "Well, it's funny. You actually look Mexican," because my brother's character is Mexican. He goes, "Well, I'm half Mexican." And well, that basically shut down the argument. Um, but yes, anyway, so like I said, this is, I mean, it's my thoughts on Scion, but there's a lot of like my experience as well. But anyway, like I was saying about these powers. So like the Japanese one's useful, and then you have some like the Greek one, arete, which is an ability that just grants you bonuses. As again, it grows exponentially instead of linearly to a skill. So whatever skill you pick, you are going to outclass anyone in the game, any other player in the game who doesn't have that arete. I mean, like if you're a fighter, you're gonna pick arete in either like melee, brawl, or marksmanship, and it doesn't matter. No one's gonna be able to touch your ability to fire a gun or to throw a punch. Which means if you take something like you're a detective character and you take investigation, there's no reason for any other player to take investigation. Anything you can't do, they can't do. If you fail, it's because whatever it is out of anybody's reach. It's not because you fail, because those bonuses get so insanely high. Meaning that another character, like let's say another character is a journalist, well, they have no real incentive to take ranks in investigation, even though they logically would, because the detective character who's got a rate in investigation is going to just outclass everything you ever do. And it's just so powerful. And then the Norse, which when I was running, like no one wanted to play Norse because of this. Their ability is called Jotunblood or Giant's Blood, where they can take animals and people, mortal people, feed them their blood and give them these little tiny boosts that are just not even worth it, honestly. It's like, I take a point of damage and now you have an additional epic strength and stamina. That's one free auto success. That's nothing. It means nothing. And you can only do it to mortals, meaning you're going to only be able to do it to people who already don't have that. So, I mean, it doesn't. It helps you not at all. It is just one of the most useless abilities in the game. And I had found over and over again when I ran it, no one wanted to play Nordic gods because their abilities were just so useless. Um, there's a companion, and companion. I think there's two versions of the companion. The one I have what's called the World at War. I love the World at War stuff. It has like American and European gods. Um, so like it has name of the European gods like legends like John Henry and um oh what the heck's her name? Colombianos. It's like the embodiment of the Statue of Liberty. These things that embody American ideas. Their purview is called industry, which is based around machines. Like if something breaks, you can hold it together just long enough to finish out the scene. Or one of my favorites is called Gremlins, which um where the idea of gremlins breaking machines, you can send gremlins to your opponent to smash their stuff. And their capstone is called The Project, where you get a small sphere and it just does crazy damage that slowly um damages out as it goes. It's a nuclear bomb is what it is. And then the European ones, which have English, French, and Russian entities, have their abilities civistas community, where it's all about like help, where it's all about like everyone pooling and spreading the resources evenly. Um, but yeah, I mean I do have some kind of interesting stories. Once again, a lot of them involve Pete and Kenshi Ueda, and he is like this zombie because the gods will like often awaken someone's power when they are on the brink of death. Well, in his case, he wasn't on the brink of death; he was dead. And when his mother awakened him, so he's like, as he got more and more powerful, he became more and more of a rotting corpse. And one of the things he did was one of the epic appearance abilities is you can make your face is the only face people see. And he took his fingernail and he literally cut his. Sorry, that's a cat outside. Go away, cat. You're an outside cat. But he peeled his face off. So he's just like this rotting face with no flesh. And he used this ability as a form of like intimidation. He's like, now everyone you see will be this face, and like drove the guy mad. And we were like, dude, that is dark. And I don't know. I don't actually have a lot of other stories like that that really come to mind about this game. Mostly just those ones, and those were the big ones I wanted to share. Was like the you don't look you don't look half Japanese, or you don't look Japanese. I'm half Japanese. You don't look, or you look Hispanic. Well, I'm half Hispanic, and things like that. Just kind of like just some general thoughts about the game, and just honestly a lot of just how much I hate how slow dice pools in games work, and it's one of the big things that keep me out of Shadowrun. Honestly, I've only played Shadowrun once, the sixth edition. I didn't care for it. Um, Shadowrun's world is kind of interesting, but I don't think it's interesting enough to want to keep trying to force it like I have with the Scion game. Um, I don't know. I haven't played the second edition yet. The Onyx Road released. Still need to get those books. I haven't even looked at those books. I have no idea what they've changed or anything like that. But I don't know. I think next time I might talk about the biggest problem player I've ever had. I might, or yeah, that's probably what I'll do. I was sometime at one point I want to touch upon Wizards of the Coast in general, but I think I'll save that for later. But if you guys have played Scion and have any Scion stories, I'd be happy to hear them in the comments, and I might do a follow-up video if I'm able to get with Josh and my brother and get maybe some more stories of things that had happened within our gaming group. But I don't know. It's a very, very fun world with a very, very flawed system, and I never played VTM, Vampire the Masquerade, and since it uses the same White Wolf dice pool system, and I find the Gothic vampire world just immensely boring. It's not something I'd ever probably seek out, but if you guys like it, or if you guys have any defense of that, or even Scion, I'd love to hear it. But anyway, I guess until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye.